As essay president, you must work closely with the administration while also being mindful of student concerns. In response to the assault of a student at SID's unregistered public party, Lads in Plaid, Dean Hutchinson stated, quote, "In this particular case, we didn't just have the risk, we had the reality. Someone was harmed violently as a consequence of the lack of safety precautions that went into creating this event." Some students have argued that blame for the assault should not be placed on the organizers of the event, but rather fully on the perpetrator. How would you respond to this situation as president of the student body? And since that was pretty long, let me go back. Again, the question is, you must work closely with the administration while also being mindful of student concerns. How would you respond to this situation as president of the student body?
Sure. So I wouldn't directly respond to it. I think this is one of the fallacies that the essay constantly falls in, is they feel the need to constantly infringe upon what is the college's economy. So this is a specific instance that happened at SID, and I have full confidence in the SID's president's ability to address it. Now, if this is a campus-wide issue, then that is something that was in the essay's purview, and I look forward to working with next year's college presidents to address that. But in specific reference to this one issue, this is not the essay president's job, and it shouldn't be.
Just a quick follow-up, but isn't aren't issues related to alcohol policy? Like, yes, this happened at SID, but aren't issues related to alcohol policy and sexual assault campus-wide issues?
Yes, absolutely. And when we're talking about the SID instance in the broader context of sexual assault and alcohol abuse on campus, then we can have that discussion at the essay. But bringing this SID particular discussion to the essay is just ludicrous, in my opinion. It's just a waste of time for everyone. What I would say is, given the situation, the situation at SID happened at Hanson, and then happened at Duncan, and then at Lovett, and we had like a bunch of different colleges having this issue, then I would say, okay, this is now a campus-wide discussion. Let's see if we can bring all the people together at the essay and try to collaborate on response. But I think bringing together just for SID is an overreach on the essay's behalf.
So, just to clarify, are you stating that sexual assault or alcohol policy breaches don't happen at other colleges?
No, they do. But you asked in specific reference, how would I respond to this one instance? And in this one instance, I don't think that the essay needs to respond. The essay has already been responding to issues around the alcohol policy and the sexual assault prevention. But with this one instance, there is no need to respond to this one instance.
All right, thank you. Joan?
So I do agree with Griffin in the sense that in this specific instance, we should trust the judgment and the responsibility of the SID president and the SID government to handle their own instances. But I think that I disagree with Griffin in the fact that the essay president should respond, because these instances, just as Yasna and Anita just pointed out, are instances that happen all across campus. And in terms of bringing it up in the essay, I think is a way to open up this discussion to really tell ourselves that we need to be responsible for these types of instances. So what's really important here is being able to separate the policy breaking that we did in terms of these specific instances, but then also what community values are we violating for ourselves. So in conversations with Dean Hutch, especially at our last senator dinner even this past Tuesday, he reminded us of this is what constitutes a private, this is what constitutes a public. A public private should not exist. So these are the types of conversations that we can have with administration to understand what are their expectations and what are the actual policies telling us. But taking a step back from that, I think that we really need to separate from that conversation what are our community values. So what is it within the college that we value, and why are these instances still happening? What can we do as a community, not just as a college, but as an entire Rice community, to say that I value being a safe person within this context, and saying that these are the measures as a member of the community that I want to take to make sure that I can protect these values within our Rice community.
So I would agree that conversations broadly about alcohol and sexual assault prevention do belong in the essay, but when they're contextualized with specific college instances, especially so recently after something happens, people get understandably defensive. So you're going to have the SID president and the SID senator and any citizens that go to that meeting feeling defensive, and it's not going to lead to a productive conversation. This is something that I've learned leading discussions at Lovett and being part of the conversations campus-wide. So yes, we should have these discussions about our community values around alcohol and private-public distinctions, but it should be much broader than that, because this is a problem going on campus-wide and isn't specific to SID.
So I also agree with what Griffin said, but step further to say that, yes, this affects us campus-wide, but campus is made up of 11 colleges. The students live in the colleges, so to really understand the specific experiences within the colleges is of utmost importance. So saying that we can take this to a more general and broad understanding of our community, I think is something that the essay is guilty of that doesn't work. And saying we can generalize this as like, oh yes, we have instances of this within our community, but not putting it in the context of a college to say that this is something that actually affects other students who live with you.
I have a follow-up question for Joan for your initial response where you stated that the essay does have a responsibility to discuss the community values. So how will you ensure that essay discussions on community values will remain grounded in student concerns, remain specific, and be productive to create change?
So I think that one misconception that a lot of people have about essay that I will say I have witnessed and essay is guilty of is that essays discussions are separate from college discussions. But in actuality, Senate is made up of 22 college representatives, 11 presidents, 11 college senators. So the fact that these discussions are not being grounded in what the colleges want is already a big flaw. And the fact that we have these college representatives already is an easy fix in that sense, I believe. So rather than having the essay exec team running the conversation and having the presidents and senators contribute to it, I think that it should really be run by what the presidents and senators can bring from their colleges and having the conversation center around that based on what the college experience is.